Hello, magical people. Welcome back. I'm Hexa, and this is day 3, 4, and 5 of 13 Nights of Samhain. I thought I'd scrunch these all together. 13 videos is a bit much for all of us involved. The questions for today are the soundscapes of your life during the Samhain season. What spirits do you work with and how do you connect? And unveiling your Samhain altar. And I put timestamps in so that you can look at the parts that most interest you or come back to something that sparked you that you want to return to. The soundscape of my life during Samhain. And again, I just want to reiterate that Samhain is a season for me. It's not a day. It's not a particular day. It's really a longer, this is probably one of the seasons that I feel the longest, beginning about the 10th of October and running up until what is Thanksgiving here in the United States, and then it's all about Yule for me. I thought about sharing with you like the music that I like to listen to around this time of year. That's really cool, but honestly, I don't listen to a lot of music this time of year. The soundscape of my life is the sound of the tractors all around me in the neighborhood. And that means like prepping the fields for next year. The sound of silence more than anything. The earth starts to get very quiet around the farm at this time of year. There are birds that are migrating out, so there's not that intense cheeping and life of the birds that is normally on the farm. Finally, there's a lot more darkness. We actually live in the Pacific Northwest, and as a result, we have longer days and longer nights. I grew up in the Los Angeles area, and we just kind of had sort of the same amount of day and night going on all year long, but it's not so up here. There's a really notable difference at this time of the year. And for me, the sun has finally gone away and I can function. I really struggle when it is very bright, continuously, day after day after day. Like I feel around summer solstice, like the repression of the sun is just overwhelming for me. I'm tired, I just want to hide, I just want to sleep. But wow, it's starting to get cool. The soundscape is the crispness in the air and the dark mornings. Oh my goodness, being able to wake up at 6 a.m. and have it be dark instead of light, it's wonderful. I like to wake up in the dark and go to bed in the dark. So just the sound of silence, the sound of darkness, and what that affords my soul. This time of year is an incredible gift to me, and I enjoy the silence that is beginning to come into my life, the stillness that is beginning to rest all around me, that affords me the chance to look at myself in ways that I can't at any other time of the year. And it's also that time of thinning. Speaking of which, shameless plug here, my Women Welcoming the Liminal class is open. There are spots still available, so I encourage you to click the link down below and check out that class. This class is for those of you who are wanting to learn how to connect with your power through liminal spaces. If you are new to witchcraft, or you want to reinvigorate your practice, or just, get something going on and start that train moving, that magical train moving in your life, I think this is a great class. It's going to be highly interactive and it's super affordable. Which brings me to connecting with spirits. I work with spirits of blood, I work with spirits of place, and I work with spirits of the land. Right now, this is my favorite time to connect with the land and the spirit of the land. I love to get out, and I talked about this in my Connecting with Nature video, but I love to get out and really get in touch with the trees on my land. And if this is something that you haven't done, like maybe it's not trees for you, maybe it's a specific plant, I highly suggest this practice. Right now, there's so much change going on with the trees and plants around you that you can get to know them in a way that you can't get to know them any other time of the year. You can see how their bark is changing. You can see what kind of birds are landing in there. You can see what kinds of bugs are available. You can see, how their leaves are changing color. When do they drop their leaves in relationship to other trees? And I have specific trees that I really feel drawn towards. I have a maple here on my property that is a friend of mine. So this time of year, when we're at this liminal stage, it feels good to go in and put my hands on her bark and really connect with her and ask her about how she's feeling about this time of the year. asking the plants about how they perceive the change around them is fascinating. For me, it's a felt sense. Sometimes it's words, but not a lot. It's more of a felt sense. I do have trees that are more chatty than other trees, honestly. That maple in particular is right, my beehive, I have 2 beehives underneath that. And so there's a symbiotic relationship there between the colonies of bees that I have and that tree. And so I like watching what's going on. I like feeling that connection, the connection of life. My bees are, they're beginning to create bees of winter physiology. If you don't know anything about bees, we have bees, regular bees that you see out most of the time, and they live 28 days, but bees of winter physiology live for like 2 months. And we need that because we need them to be able to make it through the longer, colder times. So they're beginning to build new populations. It's a different feel. They're interacting with the world in a different way. And all of this reminds me to interact with the world in a different way, to slow down, to take it in, to understand what kind of changes are taking place and what kinds of changes are going to be taking place. What kind of change is necessary for me right now so that I can really be rooted deeply and nourished and ready to go into this next season of time. And every Sabbath does that for me. Every Sabbath season introduces me to myself in a different way through nature around me. So I'm kind of curious, how do you connect with nature during this incredibly liminal time of the year? What spirits do I connect with? Well, I'm going to be connecting with whatever deities I'm working at my altar at the moment. That's Arianrod and Rosmerta. It's also a time where I feel like journeying to the other world, to upper and lower world, really becomes so easy. And the messages that come through are very deep. And again, that's because there's a space that opens up on the farm this time of year that lets me just settle into myself instead of having to do a lot of outward things. And because of that, it's just so easy for me to connect with the spirit realm. I'm going to talk about this in my next video when I talk about what Samhain is to me personally. But during this time, this is the time of the year where I can really dive into the things that I haven't been able to dive into. And part of that is ancestral work, is connecting with my ancestors on a deeper level. There is the dead amongst the living this time of year. I see it all over the farm. We have dead plants with fresh blooms on them. It's just something that I see everywhere. And it lets me know that I'm in that space, that liminal time, an incredibly liminal time, where I can reach out and pierce through the veil and really ask the questions that I'm wanting to ask. So how do I do that? How do I connect with the spirits? Well, I have a semi-daily practice where I connect at my altar and I draw a card and I journal on that. I start my day with gratitude. So I'll journal 3 things about gratitude. Then I draw a card and I ponder it and journal on it for myself. And I find a lot of messages come through. I also read the book that comes with the deck. This allows me to expand my divination practice and learn from other people. And then I spend time with the beings at my altar. And I will do that through meditation. I will do that through just sitting and relaxing. I just have an open dialogue with my deities, and it's very easy for me to journey. So one way that I journey is through, having something over my eyes and listening to the beat of the drum and journeying that way. I can journey while beating my drum, but I can also just journey by sitting at my altar in that sacred space and allowing those voices to come forward. One of the voices that I have been working with for the last year is stone. Yeah, just straight up stone. So I have a stone at my altar, this particular stone that I have connected with, and I will reap the wisdom from stone or Arianrod or Rosmerta, and I journal that. And I have a running dialogue in my journal. So I may ask a question, and I usually put those in parentheses, like that's what I'm saying, just if you want to know how I do it in my journal. I'll put my question in parentheses and I'll listen and I'll write the answer. Something akin to automatic writing, in that I am in such a liminal space because I'm in a journey space. I'm in a between the world space that I can I can allow things to come through without my conscious mind getting in the way. And so I journal what comes up for me, what needs to come up, what needs to come out, what needs to be said, what needs to be heard, what needs to be received, what needs to be let go of. It's really a time of, Samhain time is a time of energies moving back and forth. There's a lot of exchange going on. Usually in the brighter months of the year, there's a lot of energy going out, right? And then during the darker months of the year, there's a lot of energy coming in. But at like Samhain and Imbolc time for me, it's a time of kind of energies back and forth. It's sort of a free flow. That veil is very thin, and it's really easy for me to tap in to what needs to come through. And I need those times. I really need those liminal times on the wheel to get myself right, to reground. If it's at Imbolc, I'm grounding in a way that's going to allow me to go out a lot more, be a lot more outward focused. And at this time, I'm grounding in a way that is letting me go inward, because I'm making the descent even darker into the winter solstice time of the year. Let me know if you want me to do a video on any of these practices at all. I would love to share with you about that. Or if you want a class, like a more intimate class. I do have an altar for my ancestors that I keep up in my house all the time. You can see it here. It has my dead pets and my family members that have passed over, and this is always out. I'm always honoring them. I have a specific practice that I honor my ancestors with that I'll share with you in a couple days. But if you're interested in building an altar, then I would tell you to check out this video right here, where I talk about some ideas for how you can build an ancestral altar.